people that are actually the most influence on artists, musicians, are the people that they're around.
They're around, and you can
Because then you
that's
have
an
this
interesting perspective.
Yeah, because then it's the whole person that you're dealing with, not this fake thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what the happy hour also delivers is these are people that are totally approachable.
Yeah.
There's part of the reason to have a weekly show is so that you can interact with the public on a weekly basis. So because of that, then if you want to talk to me, then every Monday, pretty much I can be found there if I'm not on the road. And
it's definitely an incredible community builder. Now I want to ask you about some of the regulars. When I talk about regulars, I can tell you that if I went this coming Monday night, which with me it's always, I consider myself one of that what do we call me, itinerant?
I believe there's regulars and irregulars.
I'm an irregular. I like to, if I come 6 times in a year, I'm really proud of myself. It's really an accomplishment.
Great.
But if I come, I know that I'm probably going to see Roger and Leo Ilds. There's a good chance I might see Brett Hodges and his wife Susan. I will see other couples. I will see Val and Tim Tankard. I will see Paul and Nancy Wensky. If I'm lucky, I will see Hank Tilbury or Jason Beers or Krista Victor. There's people that you can count on being there. When you think about the regulars throughout the years, who comes to mind? Who are some of the names that come to mind?
All of those you just mentioned.
Yes.
David Renier.
Yes.
John Greiner.
Beautiful voice. Beautiful voice.
Yeah, just amazing delivery.
Betsy.
Yes.
Sherry Woods.
Not so much this last year, but
Sherry Woods. A revelation.
And I cannot stress enough that she started. She was a perfect example. Because she's told me, she's like, come to here's the happy hour. And
she was an audience member for years.
Is that right?
And then we finally coaxed her to do something. It took a long time.
Yeah, and she's like, well,
and then she did it.
And everybody was completely so mesmerized, and ever since the first time, I was like, maybe whatever you did will rub off on me. I've never seen an audience be just completely enthralled.
And so that's part. She's a great example of curating because I specifically would put her where I knew we probably would need the audience to stop talking and be quiet. She was like she could just shush the room and bring everything down. So that the volume that's going on could just stay down. So, but as far as back to regulars, Sam Zek is a huge regular.
Yes, I went to high school with him.
Another example, Sam and Greg for High and Dry, audience members for years.
Yeah, Kathy Hawes too.
Same. And it's that idea of
Beth is a regular now. She was a regular way back. Then she had the huge sabbatical being a parent and teacher.
Exactly.
And now she's
back. Yes.
That's fun.
That's part of what's seeing that. That's also an important aspect of, being able to deliver this, on a regular, this is on the regular. Allows for things like that to happen. Yeah, because then I just saw a video of her with Kansas Swamp. It was 2003.
Oh wow!
On the Grand Emporium stage, and it was like, here it is, and they're trying,
ask her sometime about how the Kansas Swamp got their name.
What's the story on that? Now you have
the
to tell us.
story is, I went around and it was like, you guys want to play tonight? Okay, what? They were going to get up and do 3 songs, and I was like, okay, what name? And they just sort of, and I don't know, maybe Garrett said, or Caleb, Kansas Swamp. I said, okay. And so from that, and then I gave them a feature, and I actually called them that because I thought that was their name, and they said, "Well, guess that's their name."
It's a wonderful name. I love it. I love it.
Really,
I didn't know that story until like about a year ago. Beth told me.
Oh, that is funny.
I had no idea.
That is funny.
And I
Well,
found
one of the best names I think aren't too studied. They're just yep. Here we go.
correct, and
Yeah.
I this is definitely a thing where people, we would make the Pattonsburg Levee Volunteers, a town that was moved because it flooded. Yeah, so here are these volunteers. Didn't do a good job. That was like pre Rural Grid All Stars, or another name for Rural Grid All Stars, Pattonsburg Levee Volunteers, and we would. But also, it was at this time that we curated a cookbook of songs.
There you go.
Do you have it here?
In fact,
wow.
It's the gospel cookbook.
Gospel
All right.
cookbook.
And that's because at the end of every night, as you know, we have a jubilee.
A jubilee,
Yeah.
And we created this so that people could study the different jubilees we did. And we chose from this, right?
So you've had lots of Jubilee songs besides
Yes.
the one you do. Okay.
So, the one now, when Noah was about 3 or 4, he insisted, Mark wrote High Steppin', and he insisted, he was little, and he was like, High Steppin', High Steppin'. And so they play High Steppin', and then the next week, High Steppin', High Steppin'. And so then they tried to do another Jubilee, and then it was always High Steppin', High Steppin'.
Yeah, I had to do it every time.
And so then eventually it just became the ending song.
About two things. First of all, the musicians that have come through, some of them that have really had an influence on you, and like I remember them when. And then also, are there some nights that just stick out in your memory of, that was an incredible night?
Oh yeah.
No.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that are so that are so memorable, and part of it is. We sort of prime the pump a little bit in that if you get there, we get there and there's no one there. And but then within 15 minutes, it's completely full.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like everything
I
happens.
wish it was 15 minutes.
Well, that is it hits you like a ton of bricks.
It does. Because it'd be like, you're sitting there going, is nobody, like this was a few weeks ago, it was Mark, Leo, and Roger. I was like, well, you 3 ready to go tonight? Because it was 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then, but by 6:30, I looked up, finally had my, lollygagged on getting food ordered. And then I look up and I went, oh! I need to get my list. I need to get to.
That's funny. You know why they're all looking for a parking space.
Yes,
Right.
I'm
Well,
well aware.
That's part of the ongoing thing.
That's one of the challenges now.
Yeah,
it's just been.
It's always been. I mean, the Grand Emporium had their own parking lot, but it's always been a challenge at the Brick because there's just not enough parking, and
there's not enough parking. It's not as big if we get a lot of people. There's all kinds of little challenges and obstacles, but it's been a great.
People love the Brick,
right? Yeah. But it's been a great home.
Yeah, it is a great home.
So somebody else asked me this. Up to Date, I did a conversation with a producer from Up to Date, and we've done 1,193 shows.
Wow.
Weekly shows. And that includes 66 COVID ones.
Wow. Now,
online.
And we're going to talk about the COVID after you finish talking about this. Yes.
Ask me about, a show that sticks out. And I'm like, how can I pick a show that sticks out? And I had to say, to me, every single night, there's at least one thing that happens that's truly magical. Like, I can count on my spirits being, I have never left the happy hour at the end of the night and go, I never want to do that again.
That's great.
I might have said I never want to have them back again. And I have done
but
that.
you're married to him, and so you can't
Yeah.
do that.
I try and get pushed off the list.
No, poor Mark. Because if they're,
The early days taught me a lot.
if I need to squeeze or push somebody, he's always the first to get kicked off.
Yeah.
But of course, it was a huge night. The night that we had Grant, and that was 2000 because I have it written down. John Hartford.
Wow.
And the Wilders opened for John Hartford. We had a few real good all-star stuff on there too, and then John Hartford, and that was our night. That was a big night.
Yeah.
It'd
be hard to top that.
It was a pretty big night, but
There's others though that were just like, holy smokes! J.P. Harrison, The Tough Choices.
Oh my God,
was
I
one
love
of
that
them,
guy.
And it.
He was so good. He
Because
still is so good.
We play both kinds. We swing both ways, country and western. Amazing in that.
He was just so professional, and he was just willing to swing either way that we needed to. And some people get there with their full bands, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was a single mic kind of deal." Even though you send them all the information, but he totally embraced it and really ready to go and just put on the.
But also the
show.
band, like it was the first time that I looked up and go, this sounds like the house band for this show.
Yeah.
This is like pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because we all love that kind of, and it's dance music just generally. Being able
I got
to.
some empty.
There's certain.
It was like, when did I start keeping a notebook? I started keeping a notebook in 2008, but I can't find some of them. I couldn't find it from 2000. Oh, I keep a notebook where I write everything down, like who's played and when they're playing, and
So there's multiple.
But it's been great to go back because Grand Emporium days, I just put it on the back of our flyers.
Yes.
I don't have
to be
it.
organized.
But
Tell us about COVID, y'all.
oh my God.
That was a lifeline for a lot of us. I remember that was I'm stuck inside, and I remember looking forward to it for days. Oh, there'll be this one time when I can see some people and play music.
It changed things considerably in very specific ways, and we didn't realize. We realized it, but it became very apparent that we could not really play together.
Boy, that was hard.
And so, but then it immediately shifted into let me play for you. And because of that, then, here's our theme night. We're going to start at 1900. And we're going to go through the decades until we reach our own time.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Highly educational, but also, an understanding of, pop music and our relationship with it. And
so being able to go back to all those themes during COVID was I think it was a wonderful infusion, because Grand Emporium days we did a lot of themes, and that was the whole learning educational part.
Yeah.
And when we got settled into the brick, I couldn't get people to do themes anymore. It just wasn't there. People weren't interested. But then again, you know what? Baby, we weren't having afters anymore. We weren't doing any of that stuff. And so that shifted and changed. We could do it occasionally. Maybe some people would participate. But after COVID, because that's what we did during COVID, when we went online, it was like, now I can put out a theme and it happens again.
Oh, definitely.
And so that's been wonderful.
Well, it was, and I remember, I remember during COVID, there were a lot of fun things that you did that I think kept people engaged. I know you did a movie themes
Oh,
one
yeah.
sometime, and that was really
man.
fun. You did one where we all were supposed to play a song by somebody else in a group, and that was fun. But I remember the 60s, you know, when you did the 60s week, that was really fun. And I think as a musician, I think one of the best things about that is there's nights where I've practiced for your theme song, and then you know, whatever your theme is, and then I can't show up for whatever reason, something horrible comes up, and I still learned that song and practice it with
Right.
people. You know, I remember I was gonna, when you were doing your 80s night, I was gonna do a Steely Dan a song with my band, and we were trying to do banjo and mandolin with Steely
Yeah.
Dan and everything. Never came together, but it was just like, it just pushed us to try something very different.
I find
And
that to
I
be
like that. Yeah.
stimulating as a songwriter to be able to, you know, do, you know, cover things. Part of it is that I think it sort of exercises certain, you know, musical, you know, stepping stones, because we're always looking to sidestep those stepping stones. And that's part of what this musical experience is. And the more you have those, the more, you know, complex then your result is. Yeah, and I find that to be, you know, that's like meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, songwriting and finding out what is, you know, what is your prompt. I find that to be fascinating, and everybody has their different ideas about songwriting. You know, that's the other thing that I found, you know, really great about the happy hour is that I could work on songs and make and do, you know, change them and change delivery and have an understanding, you know, really own it and do different things that allow the song to actually happen. And I, you know, even if no one's there, in fact, you know, one of the songs that, you know, Freight Train Navigator on the first record, a song of power, super powerful song. It's called Alligators and Crocodiles, and it was a song that I opened the show with every single time. Yes, because no one's there. See, that was the thing. I would play until
Probably 30, 45 minutes, like in 2005 to maybe 8, 9, somewhere in there. It was just Mark playing for 45 minutes.
We have to show,
people would show up, and then people would show up.
Yes, and as soon as they showed up, then I would be off the stage. It really
Got
helped
Kirk
my
out,
ego.
yeah.
It's hilarious because then Beers, you know, Jason Beers, he's been threatening to do a hook show that actually has a hook. You play until the hook comes out.
Or the gong. Yeah. Well, so during COVID, then that was 18 months. That
so it was March, and then we came back March of 20, and so we came back in person on
like June.
July.
Yeah, July. Yeah, I knew it was in the summertime. Okay.
July of 2021. So it was
And we wore masks for a while.
Yeah, we had that. We had that protocol. I actually had the protocol of people had to kind of let me know that they were coming. And a lot of that had to do with how Sherry was rolling out the brick and what she was doing.
Yeah.
She had been instrumental with us getting vaccinated and prepared to do this thing.
She helped us figure out how to do all that and get us signed up and everything. But and so, I mean, that was a big deal. And we actually had some people that refused to wear a mask. And so I was doing the door then, so I just didn't let them in. It was just, you know, look, this is how we're gonna do it, and if you can't, you know, it's not that big of a deal. You're not gonna die, you know. We had people that were like, "Are you serious? You want me to be vaccinated?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." I mean, people that I would consider core people. And so they were like, "Well, I'm not coming." I was like, "Okay, then don't come. It's okay. We'll live."
We'll live. Well, I think that's good because I mean, as someone that wanted to go out and do things, you know, it's
absolutely,
you know,
because you can't stress enough that, I mean, because we would, you know, FTRK would do sometimes we would record a set, and it would be played in Europe or something, as a live show. There were times where I barely functioned. I mean, just like, because shit. Yeah, we're all running around. But the other part of COVID and the early parts, I remember the last one. me and Brooke Blanche. He had a terrible cough.
Oh, the last one before COVID.
Yeah, well, before it was like,
Yeah.
we can't have it.
Yeah.
Can't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was really sick.
There
were a lot of people.
And we could have got, we don't. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it was down in New Orleans, and y'all brought it back.
We
up
did.
from
We
Folk
did.
Alliance.
We did. We a lot of us. I was one that did not get it, but a lot of people that I was down in New Orleans where they called it the COVID flu. They called it the FAI flu before they knew it was COVID. They called it the FAI flu. And no, there were people that got Kelly Hunt. There were people that got really, really sick. But one thing that was a real relief to me, there's two things whenever I could go that I would enjoy, and one of them was Royal Grit, and the other one was that Here's to the Roots. That was this time it was at Ollie's, and I remember that the last time, when they were saying they weren't going to do Here's to the Roots anymore at Ollie's because they were they couldn't do it during COVID. Everything was shut down. I thought, I wonder if either of those things will survive this, depending on how long it goes. I wonder if either one of those shows will survive it. And one didn't, and thank God yours did. But I do think it was the doing it online every week that just kind of gave people still kind of a connection.
Too, because that Here's
Well,
to
we
the Roots
needed
was a direct.
I needed it for Mark to live in my house.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It was
a hard time for
We
a
just
lot.
found an original note from the guy that he was the manager of the Here's to the Roots.
Oh, so Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
Whitman.
Uh-huh.
I found it when I was going through my notebooks. I found the note he had written to me. He had been to some of the happy hours, and he wanted us. This was before Chris and Hob did the Here's to the Root. He wanted us to do the happy hour thing there on Sundays. And he had written me this long note, and he had several conversations with me, and I was like, that sounds great, but I just cannot do another.
Now, was this at the Dubliner original?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was just like, but I think I could put you in contact with somebody who might be interested.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of...
Yeah, and that was a fun time,
But
too.
it was interesting to see that note, especially now that he's gone. And so just to come across stuff like that, because we just save different things, and then I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, I bet you've been going through a lot of stuff lately that brings
so
back a lot
much
of memories.
stuff.
Yeah, there's
and
video of me and Brother I tuning our instruments, and then in walks my first wife Leslie, and then you were there shortly after. Eddie Crane was in the shot too.
Eddie Crane,
hugging everyone. I found that to be really just interesting, and it just continues to deliver because it's not like, oh man, now we all these other it's always exciting, this happy hour.
So what do you see coming in the next 25 years? Will there be a Royal Grit for 25 years?
25 more years?
Well, we're both going to be 60 this year, so no.
I think this is what
we've been asked this so many times lately, and I don't know. I really have to say I don't know. And so some people were like, well, couldn't you pass it on to somebody? And it was like, I guess I could. I did
But-
have this
But
conversation.
part of the problem is that from the very beginning, it looks terrible on paper. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't improve as it gets older. It gets more. I mean, even now we have to pay for parking.
We opt to pay for parking right next to the brick, so we don't have as far to travel, and we leave something open if something opens up for somebody else.
Yeah.
But basically, for Mark and I pay to do the happy hour.
Yeah.
We pay for our own food. We pay to park now.
Yeah.
Mark runs the sound for free.
For free. It's not a winning proposition.
Not at all.
You're right.
We only charge
Here, take
$3.
this. Like,
Yes.
We charge $3 for audience to get in, but the people that are paying are people that are not players. If you're a parent that brings kids who play, then you get in free too.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
which is interesting to say, since
if we
people
have a
bring their
featured
kids
artist,
to
I
play.
know. If we have a featured artist, then that everything we take in the door goes to them.
Yeah.
If I save the money that we get on theme nights and duets and any of that, I save it so that if I don't at least hit $100, I throw in
You can
more.
throw in more. Yeah.
And I've done that so many times. But I also, if they're a touring musician and they have product, or if they're local and have brand new product, I'll use money, because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
I'll use money out of the Real Grit Fund to pay for that.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. I haven't talked about that with anybody, but part of the whole Real Grit thing was we had it broken down into where our money went, like what we did with it. And money from the happy hour, like when we started the Grand Emporium, part of it was 80% of the door went to the music, whoever the feature was.
Yeah.
And then the other 20% went into, because way before MMF, we had a health fund.
Oh, wow.
Is that crazy?
Wow, that is crazy.
We had a health fund to help our friends that didn't have insurance, right? And so 20% of that, and then if we had more, a theme night, then 100% of it went into it. And I had this whole breakdown of what went into, CDs we sold and merch we sold, what percentage it went to. But so a total of our budget, 25% of it ended up going into a health fund.
Wow.
So that, and then we ended up giving it to people that needed it. It was crazy to think about that was happening.
That's really fascinating. That's wow.
Yeah,
but now it's just 100% of it goes to. I don't. Occasionally, I or like when we had right before Christmas, I'll take the 2 duet and trios before Christmas, and that's what I give the staff as their tip.
Oh, how nice!
Right?
How nice!
Or I do
Because that's the
stuff
other
like
part.
that.
Yeah.
You have a relationship with staff.
Yeah.
That is, it's not a joke. I mean, some of the, those people, come in and they have to hear your music every.
They do, but those that they have some really great people working there.
It's true, and that's the way that
they always know my order, which is just
Isn't that
amazing?
amazing? But I think that, I don't know, the whole thing, I don't want, but I feel like that's why I feel so, I guess in a way, honored and amazed so many times that people still come to the happy hour, because they're paying for their food, which costs money, they're paying to drink, they're paying, their time is money.
Yeah.
And they still come.
I think they need.
I think
a lot of people really need it.
I think it blows my mind.
Well,
that it still happens.
I think you're getting right to the meat of the matter, though, and I think it has everything to do with, not accepting corporate think as being here's the best way to do things. Here's the best way to do everything. Well, it isn't. It's not the best way to do this. Is to worry about some sort of bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been gone a long time ago if we'd have worried about that.
Because
but then our corporate overlords say we have to do what?
Yeah.
Well, fuck that.
No, well, I tell you, hey, I tell, not that we don't That was something also in the beginning. We had a lot of discussions, and right from the get-go, that was one of the things that the board was adamant about, was that we were not going to do sponsors.
Yeah.
We were not going to do corporate
Yeah.
stuff. And I've had so many people over the years, well, if you would just blah, blah, blah.
It's not we don't just do anything.
And it's like, but if I do that, then I have to do what they want, you see? And then it's not that I want total control. I want the musicians to have control.
Yeah.
And so there's been people, well, like Beth's getting ready to release a new CD or a CD, and I said, and we're going to print them, and I said, do you want a Real Grit number? What does that mean? I was like, well, all it really means now is it says Real Grit Records and you have a number. That's all it means now.
So it was the Real Grit record label was always
That's great.
Real Grit record label was always about umbrella to protect musicians from unscrupulous people.
Just so they could have total control, and
Yeah.
really it was just because really back in 94, 5, 6, 7, 8, I mean it was still extremely hard to. There weren't the do-it-yourself is not like it is now.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
anyway.
because the fidelity,
I love what's going on with Manor Records right now, because Manor Records, what they are doing, everything that they're doing, opening their own little record store, what they're doing with their musicians to help them, creating the nonprofit, everything that they're doing was the stuff we talked about.
That's great.
And to see that that's happening.
And that
right?
idea of
It's
that
really
happening,
exciting.
and I really think that is important, and I think that the longevity of the happy hour, I think, has a lot to do with the idea of empowering musicians, specifically musicians who don't even know that they are yet. It's part of the idea is to be able to have a weekly idea of. Do things that are uncommon. Have experimental instruments. Don't battle mediocrity within yourself on the weekly. Do this thing that is uncommon. Not it's not old Joe Clark. Sorry.
But you can do old
Clark.
Joe Clark.
But I love old Joe Clark, and you would let me play it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But that's what I'm
And
saying.
there'd be people that would jump on stage with you and play it with you.
See,
Absolutely.
but that's not what he's saying. Is you can't do that,
Yeah.
and you can't even do something. You can do that, but we're saying there's a huge part of us that has constantly encouraged people to tap into something different.
Exactly.
But if you don't want to do that, we're okay with
There's
that
another
too.
part of that though too, and some of it is being here's my practice. It's duets and trios. You can't really pick old Joe Clark as a song because there might be someone that comes in that only knows old Joe Clark, and they're going to do it. Yes. Well, see, don't crush them. Do things that no one's going to try. No one's going to step in over here. Therefore, I can do it with impunity. But the other part of that too is the whole Sun Tzu idea of orthodox and unorthodox forces and using them in combo, and that's how you win battles.
I was going to say, are we doing an art of war here now? Okay.
Yeah. Well, you have to in our meetings in the beginning before there, with just trouble of mind. There was a lot of Sun Tzu talk, and in the board meetings, this was brought up a lot of reflecting on that, and then our other big one was slow and steady wins the race.
And that's really the other part is that in for the long haul, that's how and that's how Sun Tzu builds armies. Here's loyalty and dedication to doing, and that's a big deal. And but it's also comes out of I studied to be a potter in school, and Eastern philosophy was definitely part of what was going on, and the aesthetics specifically, different kind of wabi and simplicity of form and Japanese tea ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, elevating the mundane to some spectacular thing. Yes, but it's not lost on me that this is part of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this is American music ceremony, and I think that it definitely is that, and I think it definitely has that idea, and I think that is part of the idea of here's experimental. Here are Hank Tilbury. Here's someone that plays anything. Just be musical with whatever it is and just handy.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, I've seen him play the wall.
Yes,
Yeah.
and but that's
So
part of it is realizing musical clown, sacred clown, musical clown. Instruments made out of junk. Here's my pan now. See, it's the idea of this sacred thing, this opera thing, but it's accessible because let's keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
but the whole idea of the American roots music, like from the beginning, we always were saying it's roots music. It's American roots music. I mean, our mission statement from the beginning.
Yeah.
And there was no such terminology then. When it started happening mainstream and they were using that term, I was like, hey.
That's funny.
We've been saying that for years.
Yeah, 2001, Oh Brother Where Art Thou comes out. And
Exactly.
all of a sudden, everything is super pop.
Right.
And we're like, wait a second, we've been doing this for years now, and they're like, hey, you have.
I was a little annoyed, to be honest. That movement back then annoyed me a little bit because I was like, there's so many incredible people out there. Why is it? I don't know.
Why
just
is
thought
it
was
this?
Yeah. But well, listen. I want you to tell us one more time before we go. I want to thank you so much for not only for doing this interview today, but for all that you've done for our Kansas City music community and continue to do. And I know I'm in earnest, but I want you to repeat one time what this week is going to look like of your anniversary celebrations. Maybe tell us some of the people that are going to be playing as well.
Okay, so Thursday, February 1st is the duet and trio night. That's anybody that wants to participate. They just come, give me their name, we draw them out. They go off, they do their thing, come back. So who knows? On Friday the 2nd, the Steadfast night, performers that night are the Twang Daddies, that's Brett Hodges' band.
Mm-hmm.
We have Boxcar Brethren, Havla Brooders, John Greiner, Scott Harabko, the Match Sellers. I'm forgetting somebody.
Okay, that sounds like
that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then on the retrospective night, Trouble of Minds playing, Rex Hobart and the Misery Boys. Let's see, who else? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure that we're going to hear some Eve Sheldon, something along those lines. I don't know what it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Oh yes, because our former guest host will be here
We'll be in town.
on Saturday and Monday.
All right.
I shouldn't have said that until I know those plane tickets are actually purchased.
Okay.
And then, for real, who else is going to be that night? Oh, gosh, I can't even think.
Or Betsy and Clark going to be there that night, or?
No, because Betsy was having a little trouble trying, because recent loss of her mother and stuff, and and her mom's birthday is in February, so
I see. Okay.
kind of a rough time. So she's going to participate, but at what level we don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I can't even off the top of my head think of who else.
Severe Brothers.
David's going to do a Severe Brothers reprise.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
If Howard wasn't going to be in California, we would have had Howard. I swear. He was one of our early people.
Okay.
All the time.
All right. Yeah.
And then people that are in the happy hour group on Facebook should look for where it's going to be on Sunday, the jam thing.
Yeah.
And then on the 1st, we have a huge, I have 10 musician groups that I asked to do a couple songs. Because, normally they do. What did I say?
First.
I mean the 5th.
The 5th. Okay.
It's
The 25th.
It's the first happy hour. The new millennium.
So, Kelly Hunt, Cameron and the Keeling and the Runaway Train, Freight Train Rabbit Killer. Let's see, Jack Sumner, Kristen and Lucy.
Uh-huh.
Gosh, I'm just like, I have my list right here. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's see. Chris Hudson, Natalie and Marty, Beth, Fritz and Allison, and then there's Pentagram String Band. There's a whole bunch of regulars that are doing stuff in between them.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So yeah, I mean, it's
Well,
pretty packed out.
Well, our listeners and viewers can look on Rural Grit Happy Hour on Facebook and find out more about this, right?
The Rural Grit page. Yeah,
Rural Grit
there's
page.
a page.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again. We've been talking to Kim Stanton and Mark Smeltzer.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Julie.
Yes.
Thanks.